Hey.
Okay.
Hey,
Hey,
Okay,
I'm
I
trying to
think
get
we're
somewhere where my dogs are not. So, and wait, I'm gonna have to change this to the other side of my
okay.
phone.
I think we
What
might
up
be
with
live.
that?
You
Wait
want
a
me
minute.
to end?
I'm at.
Okay,
Yeah. Nope.
Susan, can you see?
Okay. Cool.
woo!
Great.
Okay, I think we're
Great.
live. Are y'all ready to talk about some Disney
Okay.
cruises?
Oh,
Absolutely.
let me see. My.
Can you see us, Pam?
Yeah, I can see you. No, I can't see you now.
You're a little
I can.
frozen.
Oh. Oh, wait. It's making me enter again. Yay! There you go.
Okay, hang on. Let me try this. Okay.
There you are.
Now then, can you see everybody?
Yep, I can see you.
Okay. All right. I don't know how to get everybody in there. It's not gonna be too good, but let me. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and start with. I'm gonna ask some questions to you and Susan.
You jumped out.
Well, I'm trying to
Jump back in.
about y'all's recent Disney cruises that you went on. So,
You're echoing. Let me see. I'm trying to.
do I do that?
It's like you're in the hole.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know. Um,
I do that kick from.
you want to try that?
Yeah, we're gonna see what happens here, Pam.
All right, hang on. If this doesn't work, we'll redo it. Okay, is that any better?
Yeah, that is much better.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
perfect.
We are learning here about technology. Okay,
We're
so
so good.
for those of you out there in the world, this is Susan and I'm Courtney, and we're going to be talking to Pam today. And we are all from Adventure Therapy Travel. And so I'm going to ask Susan and Pam a few questions about their recent Disney cruise. So I'm going to scoot over so you can see Susan better. So tell me, so I know y'all both recently went on a Disney cruise. When did you go on one, Susan, and then Pam? You can tell me when you went on yours.
I went on one November 4th, and
Okay.
it was on the Magic for a 4-night Bahamas cruise. It was, they had just started back with cruising after the pandemic, and I was just happy to get on a cruise ship again.
Yes. All right, Pam, when did you go? Or you've been on
Um,
a well, hadn't you?
yeah, we've been on two. We went. The first one was in October. I think it was around the 9th. It was a 4-night, and it was a Bahamas, but no, it wasn't. It was a two. It's a double dip at Castaway. Was that one? And then we went again in November, and it was a 3-night to the Bahamas.
So
But
what
both of
ship?
them were on the Dream.
Both of them on the Disney Dream. So
Yeah,
okay.
both on the yes.
We'll put it right here. We'll be able
So
to see both of us.
yeah, I was on.
There we go.
Courtney and I are gonna try to get to where you can see us both. Hello.
I'll just sneak in every now and then. How about that?
Yeah, so I was on the Disney Magic and Pam was on the Disney Dream. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Disney family of cruise ships, the Disney Magic was the first Disney cruise ship, followed by its sister ship, the Disney Wonder. And then they built the Disney Dream and its sister ship, the Disney Fantasy. And they're a bit bigger than the Magic and the Wonder. Um, in fact, it had been a little bit since I had been on the smaller Disney ships, and I had forgotten how much of a size difference there is. But the walkability was so easy as compared on the Magic, and they're still operating at 50% capacity. So, I mean, it was as though we had that ship to ourselves.
Our first cruise, it was 35% capacity. So there were 1,300 of us on there, 1,000 adults and 300 children.
Oh, wow.
Now, the second cruise was at 50%, so it felt like there was a lot more people on there because it jumped up to 2,400 people on the second cruise. But still, you didn't notice it. I mean, not really anyway, except at dinner we had more tables, and our servers, the first cruise, they only had 2 tables to take care of. But
Oh,
by the second cruise, by the second cruise, they had, a full slate of people. So
was your second cruise also at 50% capacity?
now my second was at 50%. Yes.
It was. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So tell me again, Pam, were both of your cruises on the same ship?
Yes, they were both on the Dream.
They
Yes.
were on the Dream, and yours was on the
Magic.
Magic. Okay. All right.
And I want to say this, something I've cruised with a lot of different cruise lines. I don't, I love certain cruise lines. I do have some preferences, but I try not to say I will only ever cruise this cruise line or that cruise line, because I will cruise other cruise lines. But one thing I'm very impressed with the way Disney does is the maintenance of their ships.
Mm-hmm.
I cruised the Magic back when the Magic was the only ship they had, way back, in the 90s. And it looked as good
This
when
time.
I cruised in November as it did when I cruised when it first came out in the 90s. The upkeep is amazing as compared to what you see sometimes on other ships. They do a great job.
I agree. And actually, the Magic had probably just come out of a dry dock, not soon before you cruised on it. But you can tell there's constant maintenance going on all the time. In the mornings, I would run deck 4, and those guys painting, cleaning is a constant. Yeah.
And anytime you're in port, they are constantly washing down the sides of the ship, washing the decks, washing the railing. No, they don't do it on sea days when you're at sea because typically you have a lot of guests out, enjoying the decks at that time. But they're in constant deck cleaning mode, and they're on cleaning the side of the ship itself when you're in port. It's amazing.
Yeah. I didn't cruise recently like you guys did, but I was very impressed with how clean everything is. This was even before, this was pre-COVID. They would make you come in and wash your hands at different stations before you ever went to get something to eat. And every time you came back in from being on deck, you had to get Germex. And I assume they have kept that. I really was impressed with that.
Yeah. They're diligent about it. And then they very politely ask you, to take care of things like that. It wasn't, it was excellent service the whole time. But, if someone did forget to do something, they would very politely say, excuse me, would you please, could you do this, or put your mask on indoors, or wash your hands as you're entering a restaurant, or even spacing in the in the theaters for the shows, even for the movie theater, they had adequate social distance spacing between family groups.
Yeah. What about the theater shows? When I went on one pre-COVID, there was one every night. Have they changed that up for y'all?
They split you up. It's like, like they used to do still with first dinner and second seating and first seating, except each show was done twice on the 4-night cruise. So you really only had 2 shows, but it gave you time to do other things. Like, we don't always go to the shows. I mean, usually after I've seen it once, I kind of bail and go do something else. So it gave you the opportunity to do other things too.
That's how it was on the Magic as well. And usually, like, there is a different show each night, and if you're eating early dinner, then you go after the show. If you're eating late dinner, you go before. But they had just one showing per night, and like one showing of the. They had the showings, but then the second night they did not have a new show. They were
Same
repeating.
show again. Yeah.
Yes. And to give enough room for people to be able to spread out. And they had a matinee show actually of Tangled when we were on. They had that was the only one they had the extra matinee show for, though, because it was a more popular show, and so but then they had a lot of course, first run movies.
Mm-hmm.
I saw 3 Marvel movies that were at the theater simultaneously while we were on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I like to do on the ship. I like to go, take advantage of seeing first run movies.
My husband lives in the movie theater, so that's great.
I could have gone with Nick. We could have watched Marvel
You could have
together.
gone with Nick. You seen? Yeah, we saw 10 Rings. He saw all kinds of good things. So
I saw that. Yeah, I saw Shang-Chi. Yeah, I never get that right. Sorry, Marvel.
However you pronounce that.
Yeah, I get it wrong every time.
Now, I will say we had a different category room this time that I've had before, and I absolutely loved it. The first cruise, we just had a regular family veranda room. But the second one, we had a family deluxe that had the Murphy bed that came down. And I had not had one of those before. And it gave you just an extra amount of space that it was, there were 4 adults and a 1-year-old in their room, and we had plenty of room. We had tons of room. So I would definitely do that room again.
And what was that room category again, Pam?
I wonder if it's a 10. Yeah, I think it was a 10B, but it was a deluxe family veranda. Okay. And it was, and at that time, veranda rooms were on sale. They were cheaper than an inside room. So, it was good. It was a good thing. But I
love the veranda rooms. When we went on the Disney Fantasy, that was John's favorite, is to go out on the veranda in the morning and drink his coffee.
I love the veranda room. You cannot go wrong with the veranda.
Now, when we were in Port in Nassau, and we were beside the Magic that day. And so, of course, they had dueling horns, and it was great. And what was so cool is our room was, we were on the side that was facing the Magic. And to see all the employees come out from each ship and wave and yell at each other and talk to, there were some people they had been on, other ships with and they hadn't seen, and they all were coming out to the rails. Housekeepers, service people, captains, they were all out there waving at each other and talking to each other. Now they left port before we did. And so of course they had a dueling horn thing again and everybody was waving by. So I got that on video. It's really cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah. That would have been neat to see in person.
We were beside I think it was I'm trying to remember. It was it was Royal Caribbean. It was either the Anthem of the Seas or the Oasis. It was one of, I think it was Oasis. It was Oasis class. And I was really interested to see that ship because it had, I had not been on the Oasis itself. And so we were beside it and had a great view of it. And at some point, I'm going to go on the Oasis. And I will say from sitting beside it, I was like, you're my next one. But it was great. And we had a great time. We had typically when you're on the Dream or the Fantasy, they back in Nassau.
Right. Exactly.
And so the Magic had pulled in. And so for those, it's one of those experiences you just have to be there to experience. I'm going to use my phone to show you all this, but so they pulled that ship out and then literally turned it around and then went forward. And we spun on an axis. That was so fun just to stand on the veranda and watch.
Watch that.
What you hear?
That is cool.
That's cool. Yeah. And I did notice that when we were beside the Magic, like Susan said, we were on deck 10, and our
Mhm.
deck 10, we were up above their top deck. Just so we were looking over into their pool area. So,
Yes.
and we had 2 more decks above us. So that gives you a little bit of size
Idea.
Right.
beside each other. Yeah.
Like the pool deck and like the cabanas,
Mhm.
used to be a buffet, classic buffet
Yeah,
restaurant.
yeah,
It's
I know that.
modified buffet now.
Modified buffet. Yeah.
That is deck 9 on the
Mhm.
Magic Wonder, and it's deck 11
11.
on.
Mhm.
So you got 2 more decks up there
Yeah. Yeah.
that you can look over.
Now, do y'all prefer? I know you said you're on deck 10. I don't know if you were both times. I don't know what deck you were
I
on.
was.
Do you have a preference on deck, and like if you're forward or aft or middle?
I was on deck 7, and we were midship.
Okay.
I like midship. And a lot of people are like, well, I like it, for this reason or that reason. I like it because it's convenient.
Yeah.
That's why I like it. I can go forward to anything or aft to anything, and it
Right.
doesn't take all day. So
Exactly.
it's convenient.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like deck 10. I really do. I mean, I've been in the belly before. I've been, but I like deck 10 because then you can just walk up a flight of steps. You didn't have to worry about getting on an elevator. Now, the first cruise we were on, there were signs, and it was 1 party per elevator or 2 individuals. And I'll be honest with you, I don't ever remember even seeing anybody trying to get on the elevator with us, the first one. Now, the second one, there was no signs. Of course, you were still wearing a mask, but people were more comfortable about maybe 2 families getting in an elevator at a time. The second time, but the elevators were much busier the second cruise. So that's why I liked being on 10, because then I could just run upstairs, like if I wanted to get something to drink or something. I just had to go up 1 flight of steps, and we were midship the second cruise, and we were aft the first cruise, and it doesn't really matter to me, just as long as I'm on the ship.
I was going to ask if you can feel it any differently in the back. I'm
Now,
not.
I will say this: if you are a person who gets motion sick, and I don't, but I think you notice it the further up you are in the ship, the more you're going to feel the motion. And the first night on the second cruise, there was quite a bit of turbulence and rocking back and forth. But that just rocks me to sleep. That doesn't bother me. And if you're a person who's worried about that, then I would suggest you go deck, and you're not wanting a veranda, go deck 2 or 3 or someplace lower, because you definitely don't feel it as much, and in the middle of the ship.
On the midship. Yeah, I've heard that before too.
If you're prone to motion sickness, I will get in the middle of the ship,
Mhm.
as close to the middle in every direction, forward,
Mhm.
aft, side to side, get us inside the room and up and down.
Right.
Like as close to the middle of that ship as you can get.
Mhm.
You're gonna get less motion there.
Right.
But I'm like you, I sleep so much better on the ship.
Now, my mother had cruised with us many times before, and she gets very motion sick. She could actually tell you if I was in a room, I couldn't tell you which way was forward and which way was not, but she could tell you. And like if she would sit at the dinner table, she would say, I have to be sitting at this end of the table because I have to be going forward. I would have no idea where I was at if I was forward or backwards. But there are some people who are that sensitive and need to do that. But
I will say and this is only really for pretty much for the Disney ships. For the other cruise line ships, it just varies by the ship. But Disney ships are built so similarly, all of them, the way everything is laid out. If I am once again, for convenience sake, if I am not midship, I want to be more aft.
Mm-hmm.
I want mid to aft because almost everything I want to go to
is on
is
that
mid to aft.
Mm-hmm.
The cabanas, the pool deck, everything is located there. So that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and for people that don't know about Disney Cruise Line, part of your purchase that goes towards your purchase is you eat. You know, you get to eat wherever. I mean, not wherever. There are two nice, a little bit nicer fine dining on the ship, but you get really good food.
Yeah.
Those are one of the things that John and I liked. But yeah, are you still able to rotate nightly with the new COVID regulations to a different place each night?
Yeah, there's still rotational dining and then your last night, wherever you dine is where you eat breakfast on your departure day.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think of which one we ate at twice. Of course, on a 4 night, then you're at one restaurant twice, and on a 7 night, you're at two twice and one 3 times or something. But yeah, or
Yeah.
you could pick Paulo or Remy, like you said. I personally have not eaten at Remy. I'm not that big of a French cuisine person. Paulo, I love. I mean, that's my first, like when it opens up and you can book. That's my first go to. And a brunch on a sea day is the best. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that yet, but I want to.
So for
Um,
those who aren't familiar, Polo is more Italian fare,
mhm,
and Remy is more French.
mhm.
And I'm like Pam. I prefer Italian to French every day of the week. So I'm not going to choose Remy.
No.
But I will also say this: I can go on a Disney cruise because the food in the regular dining room is so good.
Yes.
Yes.
I can go and not eat at Polo or Remy and not
Yeah.
feel cheated.
No.
Oh my
The
God.
last 2 I didn't get either one. So yeah.
Yeah. And I don't, I mean, it's a lot of times that's just my choice. I'm
Yeah.
just like, no, I don't need to
Yes.
do that.
Now I will say if you aren't successful in getting a reservation, go as soon as you get on and see if they can't work you in because lots of times people end up canceling at the last minute and you can get in. I've had that happen before. So don't get all upset if the window closes and you can't get in. At least go and try when you get there. So
Yeah.
Susan mentioned this earlier, but what about cabanas? And I know that pre-COVID, it was more buffet style. I'm sure they've changed that. How have they changed that up?
they serve you. So
Oh,
you can go tell them what you want. And we ate only ate at Cabanas like one morning, and that's only because we slept in and missed the dining. To me, I would personally rather go and sit down in the dining room and eat my breakfast than to go to Cabanas. There are a few things they have in Cabanas that they don't have, but all you have to do is ask your server and they'll find a way to go and get it for you. Like the strawberry compote, they don't have in the restaurants, but they'll go upstairs and get you some if you need it. So,
They
and
are
at
very
night, yeah,
accommodating.
yeah,
yes,
I
at
love that
night,
about Disney.
oh, it's our favorite. They'll brought us a big, big bowl every morning. But at night, we always ask our servers, "Where are you going to be tomorrow? Where are you going to be tomorrow?" And usually we would go to that restaurant if they were working breakfast because And my first one in October, when we went back in November, I requested my same servers because I absolutely loved them. They were just wonderful. So
Well, that was what I was going to say. In case anybody's watching that has never been on a Disney cruise, it's a little different than your average cruise because you get to keep your servers. They
mhm.
rotate with you through to the different restaurants, and they're with you the whole time. And so
And
they
when you're on
become like
7
family.
or 10 days, I mean, you become like family. I mean, they know everything you want. They
Yes.
know what you drink. They know what you like. Yeah, so it's great.
They came up to John one morning at Cabanas, and one of them found us in there, and he said, "John, do you like omelets?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And I didn't see any over there. He goes, "Tell me what you like in your omelet."
Mhm. Yeah,
And John told him, and he said, "I'll be right back. I'm gonna go make you one." And no joke, he went back
yeah,
there and made John the omelet that he asked for.
yeah.
So we were blown away at the hospitality
Mhm.
and the quality. You're not gonna find that
And
anywhere
it's
else.
genuine. It's genuine. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It is. It's genuine.
It is. I was on a cruise with my cousin and her son, and my family was there, but they came with us on that cruise, and it was their first cruise, and he was a young teenager, and he's a very adventurous eater. And so we were on the Disney Dream, and we were at, is it the Royal Palace?
Royal Palace.
Okay. And we were there, and they had escargot.
Oh yeah.
I've always wanted to try escargot. I said, well,
Yeah.
now's your moment, buddy. If you want to try it,
Try it.
this is it. Well, he loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So he just loved that. So this next night we were at, of course, it's rotational dining. We're at a different restaurant, and he ordered an appetizer, and he was like, I said, is it good? And he said, yeah, it just doesn't hold a candle to that escargot I had last night. I wish I had that. I said, well, just ask for it. He said, that was a different restaurant. I said, just ask. And so he looked at our server and he said, is there any chance I could get some of that escargot we had last night? He said, give me a minute. And within like 2 minutes, it was in front of him. And
Yeah.
you know, they're so
They're awesome.
accommodating. They want you to be happy. Genuinely, they want you to be happy.
Exactly.
I agree. Well,
Like we would be and try to decide what we want for dessert, and our guy would be like, no, don't try. And he'd bring us one of everything and say, here, try everything. So don't be afraid to ask. And
yeah, John has even ordered 3 things like from the one menu because he's like, why not?
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, it's definitely worth going on a Disney cruise for sure. Do y'all think that they're going to stay at half capacity, or have y'all heard any different about that?
I haven't heard different, but I think they'll pick it up as quickly as they can.
Yeah. I do too.
I will say this: it's important that they do, because, like for instance, the dining room staff, a lot of their salary is gratuity based. And so if they're at half capacity, they're getting half the gratuities that they would get. So it's important to them that they maintain the level of cleanliness, that they maintain, you know, what needs to be maintained to be able to increase capacity and keep, you know, within the CDC guidelines so that they can get that salary.
Yeah.
I will say this, if you are going to cruise and it's still at, consider, you know, we always do prepaid gratuities, but we always go beyond that and tip a little bit more. I mean, when our waiter, our service staff saw us come in November and realized we were back, they were just, they ran out into the middle, like we were at Royal Palace the first night, and ran out and met us and was like, oh my God. Even with our mask on, they were like hugging, and we were hugging. They're like, oh gosh, we can't believe that you asked for us again. That, you know, thank you so much. But other than tipping, make sure, because if you write a note, or, you know, in your survey when you say it, but even go beyond that. Just write an extra note or an email and send it to Disney, because then they are recognized, and that means so much. And so many of them are supporting families, you know, in other countries, like air server, Esmeralda. She had a son who was staying at home with her mom, and she was supporting them. And she goes back home in January to go and visit. She's from the Philippines, and so she goes home in January, and they're home for 6 weeks, and then she'll be back. And I begged her, I said, don't go back to the Dream, go back to the Magic. We'll be on the Magic in June. Come to the Magic, because she was just outstanding.
Well, that's our room steward was from the Philippines, and she was the same situation. She said her 12-year-old son was back in the Philippines, you know, with her family, but she was working on this ship to support him.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a mom, that pulls at your heartstrings, because she's doing what she has to do to support her family.
And they have to be away from them for so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's
that is hard. That is heartbreaking.
We always try our best, like Pam said, to give them something beyond the prepaid gratuities. Give them some extra cash, and then we take it specifically for that. And then to write that extra note to let their bosses know that they're doing a great job.
Yes. It goes a long way.
Now, I will be honest with you. The first cruise, and I've never done this in all the Disney cruises I've had, but I did have a complaint. This one in October. The photographers, not the photographers. Well, it was the photographers and the people that assisted, like the characters and stuff like that. I'd never run into a situation where they weren't just overly nice, and this time they were not. And I went to the front desk and said, "This is not Disney." Like, I mean, you know. And the second time it was a little bit better, but the first time it was they needed to be Disney schooled again, I should say, because they weren't. They were a little snippy, and I guess because I mean I know the whole mask thing, but it was weird because it wasn't consistent. It was if Disney was taking your picture, then you could take your mask off. But if you were standing there in the same situation and somebody in your family wanted to take a picture, then the mask was on, and then they would like say something to you, and I'd be like, no, if be nice about it when you say something, but you need to be consistent, not just because you're getting money from me because I want to buy a picture. So that was my one complaint. I don't usually complain, but I did that time.
Well, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Though. Well, we're gonna get off of here because I guess we've been on here a good little bit. I can't even find the time, but we just wanted to get on here and talk to you and to talk to Susan and Pam both about your recent Disney Cruise Line experiences. And so I heard y'all both say mask. So real quick for people that are wanting to go in 2022, I'm sure they're going to have to wear a mask. And they also show their vaccination card?
Indoors, it's a mask inside only. On the decks, you don't have to wear a mask. Okay. Obviously, in your own room or on your veranda, you don't have to. But and once you're sitting down in a restaurant, you don't have to.
Okay.
Nope. You don't have to show your vaccination. You upload that on DCL Safe Passage. That's all done before you get there, so you don't have to worry about that. I mean, we took ours just in case, but you don't ever have to show it again.
Do they do another COVID test when you get there, or is your vaccination card good enough?
No, they COVID test everyone at the port.
Okay.
And then you wait for your result, and once you are cleared, you can board the ship.
Okay. Yeah. Is it a long wait for the result for people?
I mean, it's like
15.
Going to the doctor, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. Their first time it was 25, and I believe it or not, the second time there was tons of people. The first time we did it, we were the only car in the whole parking lot. The second time we had to wait in the line to even get in the parking lot to get tested. But we got our results faster the second time than we did the first time.
Okay.
But the sad thing, I will tell you, I did see families get turned away because somebody was positive. So be prepared when you go. Okay. If you're not driving, always have a backup plan with all this going on. Always have a backup plan, because they'll end up going and getting your luggage and giving it back to you. And then you have to find your way home, whether it's to go get a rental car or because they actually do. If you have flown, they alert the airlines that you have tested positive. So of course you would not want to try to fly home anyway. But finding a rental car at this time is an interesting feat. So always have a backup plan. But you will get refunded. They will refund you your and everybody in your party. So I will say this: if you're going and you have several different rooms, we always link our rooms, but in this situation, you might want to not link your rooms, because then that will affect every other room. So,
okay, that's true.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, like Pam was saying, they are currently, like before, they might sit you, if you were a party of two, you might get seated at a table with another party of two, or they don't do that now. You are only seated with your
party. Yes.
Okay.
But then I would caution everyone, especially with the airfare, with your plane ticket, buy the travel insurance.
Insurance, definitely.
Do not leave home. Don't go anywhere without travel insurance right now. It's just not wise.
Yeah.
No.
I would agree with that too.
You sit there and think, oh, you might skimp, but this is not the time because you'll be out way more money in the long run.
Yes,
Yeah, I agree with that.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Pam, for joining me and Susan tonight. And we want you
We
guys.
all need to go on a cruise together. See,
I agree.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
we need to go on a wish together. That's it. We need to go on an inaugural wish cruise.
Group
Yeah.
cruise. Here we go.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, I'm all about the Disney Wish. But those of you out there, if you would like to book a Disney cruise, contact Pam or Susan or myself or one of the agents at Adventure Therapy Travel, and we'd love to help you guys book your next Disney cruise.
And if
You won't regret it.
No, and if you just want to get information, look around, go to www.adventuretherapytravel.com, go to destinations, there's Disney, and we've got this whole section where you can just look at information about the Disney Cruise Line. And then if you want more information like on pricing, there is a form you can fill out and we'll be happy to send it to you.
Yes. And you can ask any of us any questions that you have also.
That's right.
All right. Well, we're going to let you go for tonight, Pam, but thank you so much for being on here with us.
Have a good evening. We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.